The series opens with a criminal being executed by the executioner, but the criminal does not die after being executed. The executioner strikes the sword hard several times on the criminal's head but fails. The criminal is Gabimaru from the village of Iwagakure, as we find out from a mysterious woman interrogating him. He has been trained to kill from when he was a child and has developed superhuman powers that allow him not to be able to die. He is a trained assassination ninja. The magistrate then tries to burn Gabimaru alive but to no avail. He informs the interrogator that he does not intend to live and doesn't know why he isn't dying. Upon questioning more about him, he reveals that his parents were killed by the village chief when he was a baby, and he didn't know the reason for that. Gabimaru does not have any dreams, and as shinobi ninja, he kills people whenever he is told to do so. The reason for his being captured was that a fellow ninja betrayed him, and he got caught. They then tried to pull him apart using bulls but failed once again. The interrogator questions him, saying he says that he has no will to live, but how come he is resisting, and what his real reason was for leaving the village. He explains that he was the head assassin of the village and was to marry the village chief's daughter, but she was a fool. His wife was so naive and innocent that he felt it would be hard for him to be an assassin. So he requested the village chief to grant permission to leave the village. The village chief gives him a final task before he leaves, but that task is a setup. He realized even if he did escape, the chief would come after him. The interrogator was warned to beware of Gabimaru, who had acquired the name Gabimaru the Hollow, as he had no emotions. She was also informed that the people of Iwagakure had taken elixir and gained immortality. She questions why a ninja with no feelings would resist death. Gabimaru, in his prison cell, questions himself why he is resisting death when he has nothing to live for. He promises himself that at the next execution, he will surely die. The next execution was to burn in oil, but he did not die. The last resort the magistrate take is to reveal who the interrogator is. She is Yamada Aseman Sagiri from Edo, who is a skilled executioner. Seeing Aseman Sagiri, Gabimaru fears for his life. Aseman Sagiri reveals to Gabimaru his reason for wanting to live, because he loves his wife. Gabimaru argues, saying he is hollow, and swings a sword at her. When she pushes him more to not lie to himself, he remembers his time with his wife, as she tells him that he is a kind man and the first person not to reject her ugly face. She also tells Gabimaru that her father burned her face to give up on living a normal woman's life. Gabimaru fights Aseman Sagiri, saying that a dream to live in peace with his wife will never be possible. As he is about to strike her, she shows him an official letter mentioning his release. She says there is one condition to be free, and that is to go to the other world. The other world was a mysterious place called Shinsenkyo, where you found the elixir of immortality. He had to go there with other convicts. Previously when people were sent, they came back dead but turned into flowers. The person who would bring back the elixir was to be exempted from their sins. She informs him that his wife is alive and at Iwagakure waiting for him. Gabimaru agrees to the mission, and tears roll down his face as he thinks of his wife. The episode ends with Gabimaru showing his ninjutsu to take down the people from the magistrate's office. Episode 2. The second episode begins with Yamada Aseman Sagiri's life. She remembers her father executing a storyteller in between storytelling sessions. The day she witnessed this, she dreamed of becoming like her father. Initially, she was always hesitant to swing her sword, and her father gave her words of wisdom. He told her several times that the more she hesitates, the more the prisoners suffer. She wonders to herself if she can kill anyone without hesitating. The selection process for the criminals seeking the elixir of life has begun, with the 11th Sei Taishogun, Nariyoshi Tokugawa, addressing the group and offering them a final chance for a pardon. Aseman Sagiri, tasked with reading through the criminal records, wonders if she can kill any of them without remorse. She recalls her father's words, who believed that looking at a person's sword could reveal their true nature. As she ponders whether she can kill Gabimaru, Aseman Sagiri notices something surprising when she looks at the sword with his face. She is startled to see evidence of his ninjutsu skills. The criminals were shown the only survivor from Shinsenkyo who had turned into a flower, and they became very upset that they had not been informed of the consequences. They were then given a choice. They could leave if they did not want to go on the mission. One of the criminals decided to leave, but as he was leaving, a member of the Yamada clan beheaded him. The criminals were also informed that they would each be given an escort on their journey to the island. They were explicitly told not to intentionally or unintentionally kill their escort. If they did, they would be killed immediately. It was clear that their sins would still be considered valid even on the island and that they should not make any foolish decisions. Finally, the criminals were informed that not everyone would be allowed on the island and that a selection process would be necessary. The selection process would involve killing each other. While the rest of the criminals started killing each other, Gabimaru did not make a move. Lord Aizen taunts Seaman Sagiri by saying things will get rough on the island and that she should not involve herself in the life of an executioner. He asks her to live a quiet life in a palace. Seaman Sagiri was constantly bullied as a child, and she believed no matter how much you hide, the sword will always reveal the truth. Some criminals plan to attack Seaman Sagiri, but she beheads them. At first, she hesitates but does the job anyway. The Lord's men ask the other criminals to kill Gabimaru to get their chance to go to the village. As they try to attack him, he decides to use ninjutsu to kill the criminals who tried to kill him. Gabimaru's actions help Seaman Sagiri to realize that she could not kill anyone without remorse because she needed strength to take on the burden of those she killed. The criminals that were selected to go on the island were Aza Chobe, the Bandit King, Tamaya Gentetsusai, the Sword Dragon, Twisted Kion, the Hunter of 100, Nurugai of the Senka, Horibo, the Killing Prayer, Akajanu, the Cannibal Courtesan, Kunoichi Yuzuriya of Kishu, Moro Makia the Apostate, Rokurota the Giant of Bizan, and the Runway Shinobi Gabimaru the Hollow. The episode ends with the Lord saying there is no danger in Shinsenkyo while Gabimaru looks at the falling petals of flowers. Episode 3. This episode begins with Gabimaru recalling the chief of Iwagakure being immortal because of an elixir he had obtained. Gabimaru tells Seaman Sagiri that the elixir of life exists, but he isn't sure if it is found here. Seaman Sagiri enforces the rules strictly and does not allow Gabimaru to break or manipulate them. While tying him up, Gabimaru is struck by a wrecking ball. Although initially thought dead, he survives. Kion tries to gain an advantage in finding the elixir by killing Gabimaru and others. Gabimaru notices that Kiyun's hands are not tied and asks Seaman Sagiri about it, surprising her. Yamada Seaman Kisho, assigned to Kion, tells Seaman Sagiri that her honesty is why she is lower in rank among them. Despite Seaman Sagiri tying up Gabimaru's hands, a battle between Kion and Gabimaru ensues, which Gabimaru ultimately wins. Kiyun's escort beheads Kion and warns Seaman Sagiri about the dangerous people he has seen while coming to the island. He also informs her that as the number of survivors on the island reduces, more criminals will be sent, and New Iwagakure has already been communicated. It is also rumored that this mission will determine the head of the Yamada clan. After Seaman Kisho departs, Gabimaru attacks Seaman Sagiri, leading to a sword fight. During the fight, Sagiri realizes Gabimaru's true nature. As a child, his parents had asked the chief of Iwagakure to leave the village to protect Gabimaru, but they were killed, and he was raised with the belief that attachment, even to one's parents, is a sign of weakness. Sagiri reminds Gabimaru that killing her would violate the rules, but Gabimaru informs her that if Iwagakure comes to the island, it will be destroyed, and she needs to die. Despite wanting to kill each other, they hesitate, and their emotions conflict with their mission. As he battles, Gabimaru realizes that meeting his wife has taught him to love but hate anyone who would want to hurt her. He has also developed weaknesses that lead him to forgive people. He tries to pull himself together, breaks Sagiri's sword, and asks her to stop resisting. He also mentions that it hurts him to kill her, and Sagiri retorts by confronting him about such feelings. Despite the confrontation, Gabimaru tries to kill Sagiri but fails because his wife's love triumphs. Sagiri tells him that love isn't a weakness but a different kind of strength, and because of him, she can realize her true feelings. She spares him from the death penalty, but in return, he needs to address his feelings and show her how much he wants to reclaim his life. The reason for the criminals to turn into flowers was revealed. Some butterflies sting on the island, making the criminals turn into flowers. The minute this happens, mystical beasts start to appear. The episode ends with Gabimaru asking Sagiri to stay back as he decides to take these beasts head-on. The episode begins with Tamaya Gentetsusai, also known as the Blade Dragon, telling how he became a criminal to Yamada Asiman Fuchi. A lord named Tatsumi hired Tamaya Gentetsusai as an officer, but one day he ridiculed him by saying he could not slay a real dragon. This angered Tamaya Gentetsusai, and he split the dragon on the gate into two halves. These actions led him to be on death row. Now, he wants to take the opportunity to get a pardon and destroy Tatsumi's house in two halves. He also tells Asiman Fuchi that he plans to take down the enemies and then proceed to find the elixir. Gabimaru and Sagiri fight the mystical demons on their own. Gabimaru comes to his true potential by killing the demons and protecting Sagiri by subconsciously taking her in his arms. When one of the demons is about to attack Sagiri and Gabimaru, Yuzuriya saves them by killing the demon. She tells Gabimaru that she is also a ninja, which makes them friends. Yuzuriya tries to seduce Gabimaru, but he does not fall for her tricks. She tells him 5 people are better to find the elixir than 3. Yuzuriya seems to have 2 escorts as she killed Makia using her charms, and it was important for 2 people to be there to control her tactics. Yuzuriya suggests they use each other until the end without the need for trust. She offers to exchange information for their protection on the island. Yuzuriya details the insects and monster statues, and Gabimaru agrees to collaborate. As they speak, Sagiri questions her abilities and worth and faints with those thoughts in her mind. Yamada Asiman Tuma infiltrated the Yamada clan to free his brother, Bandit King Chubei, from prison. Tuma and Bandit King Chubei have suffered from childhood, leading them to find horrendous survival methods. Chubei has always been able to grasp situations well and use them to his advantage, and Toma only had to trust Chubei. On the island, when the monsters try to lecture Tuma, he kills all of them. Tuma decides to kill anyone who comes in the way of them and the elixir. He decides that Tuma and himself will consume the elixir and live forever. The episode ends with Sagiri being carried as she faints. Episode 5. The episode begins with Sagiri gaining consciousness. Genji informs her that she was exposed to toxins from the insects. The group collected a lot of information about the monsters and the island's ecology. They try to decide on how to go about this situation. Genji pleads with Sagiri to return home as she is supposed to marry since it's her duty as the daughter of the Yamada clan, and he would take her place. As he tries to convince her, Senta says that even if she takes the boat and leaves, he isn't sure she can escape. Yamada Asiman Tenza and Nurugai are trying to escape the island when they encounter a wrecked boat. From that boat, monsters start to appear. Tenza realizes these were the boats that tried to escape the island. Nurugai is reminded of the time he led the group of samurai to the mountains, killing the entire clan. Nurugai admits that he wants to live and return to the mountains after being questioned by Tenza. They fight the water demons with all their might to reach a boat that is seen nearby. They fought bravely and reached the boat, but the current of the water only led toward the island. Soon, they reach the island, and Tenza realizes Nurugai is a girl. They strategize over how to escape the island. Meanwhile, Genji asks Sagiri to leave the island, but Senta notices positive changes in Gabimaru and asks her to stay back to keep an eye on him if things go haywire. Gabimaru and Sagiri have a deep conversation. Gabimaru surprises Sagiri by asking her about her well-being. They tell each other how strong they are. Gabimaru tells Sagiri that he has thought things through, and he wouldn't move at night, and if Iwagakure were to come, he would fight them. The next morning Genji asks Sagiri if she's ready to leave, and she declines the offer. Genji cannot comprehend why Sagiri is not performing the duties of a woman. Hearing this triggers Sagiri as she has been listening to this all her life. She informs Genji that she has a right to choose how she wants to live. They get into a feud, and Sagiri sees Rokuruta behind Genji, but before Genji can do something, Rokuruta slices him in half.